you are a man only, men only, raise your hand if you are called bossy as a little boy. Men only. Always a few. Women, raise your hand if you were called bossy as a little girl.
As a grown woman.
That's the issue. That's the issue right there. We know very clearly from gender-blind studies that little girls are not more assertive than little boys. We just know that it goes against our expectations. And so with all the progress we've made, women still have a tiny minority of leadership positions in any industry, in any political structure we have anywhere in the world. Look up to any little girl who's been called bossy, maybe by her parents, and you look at them and you say, that little girl isn't bossy. That little girl has executive leadership skills. My sister is a pediatrician. She is a very loud voice on this, and she says it's time for us to wake up and realize that one of the most preventable things that is killing our children is guns. And you don't need the recent school shooting to know this. We should have known this before. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to learn before the next school shooting. And the difference in our country and every other's is very simple. It's the prevalence and availability of guns. I have a very strong personal connection to this because when I was a child, when I was 13, my best friend's mother committed suicide. We grew up in Florida. She had been hospitalized 5 times for attempting suicide. But in the state of Florida, in the 1980s, when we were growing up, with 5 hospitalizations for attempted suicide, she walked into a gun store and completely legally bought a gun. And then she killed herself. And it worked because it was a gun, whereas the other 5 attempts, which were medication, didn't quite work.
And if you go to the memorial at Columbine, it has carved into stone, "This day brought the world to its knees. But when we got up, what has changed?" I think the answer this week was nothing. And I think that is not an adequate answer. And so let me tell you what I think Colorado has to do and what I will do as governor. The first is we have to make sure that military-style weapons do not exist on the streets of Colorado or the streets of this country. We've had generations of guns in our family, so I do not have any concerns about folks that are law-abiding gun owners. I also know, as a lifelong gun owner, I have never needed a 100-round magazine to shoot skeet before. Right? I've never needed an automatic weapon to defend my home. Any reasonable gun owner, I think the majority of them in the country will say, yes, you can have absolutely your right to own a weapon. That does not mean you need a 100-round magazine with a silencer and a grenade launcher attached to it to walk into an American high school.
So, #MeToo.
It's such an important question. You know, what's happened around Me Too is nothing short of spectacular in the sense that these women have been brave and spoken out and shown us how pervasive something was that we knew, but I think the pervasiveness is something that everyone's really fully understanding. And now we need to do 2 things. Clear institutional reform, where companies have clear policies that they don't violate, and importantly, the people who report are protected. Right. The other thing we need, and it really for me goes right back to what Lean In has been, is we need more women in leadership roles. 6% of the Fortune 500 CEOs are women. And one of the things that I've been worried about in the wake of the Me Too movement is that we were going to let people use this as an excuse not to invest in women. Men, raise your hand if anyone's ever said to you, should you be working? Don't your kids need you at home? Should you be working? Men, raise your hand. Women, raise your hand if anyone's ever said to you, should you be working? That's absurd, because most mothers need to work to support their children. And so these are the biases. They exist throughout our society. They exist in all of us. They exist in the best meaning people. And if we can accept that about ourselves, we can correct them. And if we can't accept it, we don't. And data proves this. Organizations that think they are the most meritocratic often have the most bias. So one of the things I really care about is more women being able to pursue their dreams and ambitions without the world telling them they can't, without the world telling them they're bossy. And so my foundation, we started Lean In Circles. We were hoping for 1,000 of them, small groups of women or men who meet once a month to lean into their ambitions. Today there are 35,000 in 150 countries around the world. We grow by almost 100 a week. And the data, those women are changing their lives. They are getting more promotions, they are getting paid more, they are getting to more equal relationships. And what we did was just give them a platform to meet. We didn't say to them, go do it on your own. We said, the world's pretty unfair, and we're going to help convince people the world is unfair. We're going to walk around and talk about how bossy is a word used for girls. And we're going to give you the tools to support yourselves and each other. And that individual effort becomes institutional change, becomes public policy, becomes more individual effort, becomes institutional change, becomes public policy. And just give them that support to start the flywheel and support each other. And my approach to change and my approach to hope is that all these pieces work together. We have companies that need to do the right thing, lead by example. We have public policies and political leaders, both in office and hopefully going to be in office, like your governor here, your soon-to-be governor here. And we have the individuals. I was blown away with so many of the people I met and the things people in this audience are doing, whether they're starting tech companies in Colorado, whether they're helping girls code, whether they're working on criminal justice system in the name of a son they never should have lost. That is the change that gets that flywheel going, and it has been an honor for me to spend this time with you and support Mike.
Oh, yeah.